So welcome to Critics and Cars Going Home on a dark Friday night where we've just left the Capitol Cinema where we were 100% of the audience for Deliver Us from Evil.
What a wonderful private screening. Deliver Us from Evil, a fantastically exciting Korean action movie.
Yes, and I looked up the director's name and I've already forgot it because that's the level of quality we aspire to. I will say this is his second film. His first was a film called Office in 2015, which I haven't seen. Now, this film was billed on the website of the Capitol as something like The Departed meets The Raid, which I think is a very bad comparison, but if you...
It's not a bad comparison, as in it doesn't bear any relation to those films. It certainly bears plenty of relation to those films, but it's probably either a bit simplistic or just...
Yeah, basic.
Sure. But there are certainly some raid-like elements. Now, the short synopsis is this. A Korean gangster who is fluent in Japanese and Korean is wanting to... This wonderful trope, isn't it, of wants to do one last job and then retire. And, in fact, retire to Panama.
Not the only trope we'll see.
That's right. Wants to retire to Panama, but then gets embroiled in a payback exercise by the estranged brother, who's also a gangster, who wants revenge on him for killing his brother at the beginning of the film.
Which has nothing to do with what he's actually trying to do, which is to save the daughter that he didn't know that he had until the mother of his child is
dispatched.
Dispatched, yes.
That's right.
In Thailand. So it's a Korean film with Korean actors mostly, but set in Japan and Thailand. And so it's lovely Pan-Asian action, torture, thriller.
Yeah, it's R18, isn't it?
If not, it probably should be. It's not quite as... The worst parts are more implied, but
But the implication is strong enough that I actually found that
You flinched hard
I flinched quite a lot, and I did avert my gaze periodically. But anyway, what a fantastically exciting film. We both loved The Raid, and I feel you when you're saying that it's not really the best comparison, but at least that genre of movie has satisfied us in the past. But I have to say, personally, the biggest delight from me was actually the performances. Now, normally you get this stoic kind of, charmless and humorless protagonist with dead eyes who wants to do one last job, retire, and that's it. This guy, who I have not seen before, but I like him enormously, even though he is taciturn, humorless, etc., etc. And the fact that there's a child at the heart of this, that it isn't about saving the girl and those other cliches. And I know that saving the child is a cliche, but it really actually made it very affecting, I think.
Yeah, so the lead actor, whose name I've also forgotten, but is a very big Korean draw card. And when I was saying what I was saying about The Raid and The Departed and stuff, the films that this really reminds me of are there were a lot of Korean thrillers in the previous decade. Things like Bittersweet Life and The Chaser and The Man from Nowhere. And in fact, the director of this was also the writer of The Chaser and The Yellow Sea. So that
obviously heavy influence on this film that he's created.
Yeah, well, yeah. So he's drawing from that tradition and keeping it alive. And there's a few films that the lead actor in this has been in the past decade that I haven't seen. And so maybe there's more of that tradition that's continued on in Korea in recent years than I've noticed. But I just felt like this great throwback to that era of film. It felt a little shaky to me at the start, and there were a couple scenes that even I wondered, like, did they have to finish this at the very start of COVID or something?
Shaky what? Narrative-wise?
No, just actually production-wise. Just some of the digital photography and things like that.
Sure.
But there was also a lot of talent from the beginning, and it just got better and better as it rolled on, especially, you talk about the performances, and we have a lot of gangster film cliche stoic types, and then we get to the point in the red light district in Thailand where we bring in a pre-op transsexual male to female character, and she is just
stunning,
amazing. The first 3 scenes that she's in I think are all 1.5 to 3 minute single take, no camera movements, just and the performance dynamic between her
and this rugged, taciturn gangster on the run. Oh, beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Yeah,
and then chuck in just for lols, really, the fact that the other baddie who is after our hero is an incredibly flamboyantly dressed, tattooed only around the neck, which has got to be the most sort of sinister way that you can be tattooed.
I think half Korean, half Japanese, very Yakuza.
And his name is
style.
Ray the Butcher. So, draw from that the conclusions that you will. What a fantastic, a genuinely scary antagonist, I guess. So, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, great sets of twists and turns, and I hope it finds an audience. It had a huge audience in Korea, apparently last August when it came out.
The young woman who sold us our tickets said it's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Man, well, there you go.
So there you go.
I don't know how many American critics have actually seen it. I don't know if it's come out there.
Well, it doesn't matter because 100% of them liked it 100%.
It only takes one giving it a positive review to give it 100%.
Well, there you go.
But no, it's well deserved. It does. I mean, it's always hard for Korean filmmakers when you have the people like Bong Joon-ho and Chan-wook Park and Kim Ji-woon that you're trying to live up to the reputation of. And I don't think the style of this is quite at this level, but also something I liked is that it didn't necessarily aspire to that. There was a film called The Merciless, which I saw a few years back, which you could tell was a Korean thriller that really wanted to be
of that ilk,
and it just didn't land. And this is just a little more grounded, a little less. There's some beautiful shots. There's even some stuff that almost reminded me of Michael Mann with these sort of dusky shots in Incheon where he's with his old mentor or something. And
there's other bits that. What was the film that we saw on Netflix with Chris Hemsworth playing the chap called Rake?
The
Extraction.
Yes.
So there's a lot of it. All the Thailand scenes look like Extraction, and there are moments when the action actually emulates things from Extraction as well, the better parts of Extraction.
Yeah.
But this is a superior film to that. It's got a great narrative, great characters. It's pacey, engaging.
And despite being almost 2 hours, it wears its length well.
Oh, it really does.
I feel like it wore out its welcome once during that. Usually in that length, there's like somewhere around the 80-85 mark where you're kind of fading a bit.
So I thought it was terrific. How many stars would you go on this one, Doug?
I'd go 4 stars on it.
Well, I would go 4 easily, and I can't work out why I wouldn't go higher. Typically, listeners, readers, watchers, typically what we find is that we're usually half a star apart. He being slightly snobbier or more discerning, or however you might like to put it. Me, slightly easier to please. So, yeah, I guess 4 or 4.5 would be consistent with the way that we roll.
Yeah.
Deliver us from evil, ladies and gentlemen.
At cinemas now, if you're in New Zealand, no promises for the rest of the world, but go check it out if you can. See you next time.